7 o'clock, time to get started. My name is Bob Towers, and on behalf of the Conservative Citizens Club of Texoma, welcome you to this year's school board debate. Appreciate everyone showing up for this, especially all the candidates. The club is made up of individuals who are more interested on a nonpartisan basis in getting education to voters, so then when they go vote, they have the best information, so they can make the best decision. So we schedule debates like this, certain elections, school board elections, city council primary last year, as well as we meet every month on the fourth Monday of the month, currently at the Mesa, and we'll have speakers. We had County Judge Bruce Dawson at our last meeting, so it's an opportunity to get informed, stay informed of what's going on here in Grayson County. To start off with, I'm going to ask Mike Shaw if he would lead us in Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the flag of British Texas. Honor the flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
How's everybody doing? Can everybody hear me okay? How about in the back there? Okay? All right. If you have any trouble, just let me know. Okay, I'm going to read the rules. But the first thing to know is I didn't write the rules, so don't get mad at me. I didn't write the questions either. I saw them about the same time that the candidates saw them. But I think they're pretty good questions. I think we'll all learn a lot tonight. We're going to do this. I'll give you kind of the Cliff Notes version, or maybe I'll go through the actual rules, and if anybody doesn't understand, I'll try to explain it. But we're going to start with the place 4 candidates. They will alternate the first question, so place 4, place 5. Then the second question will also be place 4, place 5, but we'll change which candidate goes first. Okay? Then the place 5 candidates will answer the next question first, and so forth. So basically, everybody's going to get a chance to go first, and everybody will get a chance to go last. Okay? Sound fair to everybody? And then the candidates will have 2 minutes to answer each question. Candidates will see a yellow signal, right? They're showing what that looks like.
Actually, let's do green.
Oh, green first. Okay, yeah. All right, so the green means that they have how much time? 30 seconds. Then the yellow means that they have 15 seconds left. Then it starts getting serious. If you're still jabbering away at that point, Mike's going to hold up a red signal. And if you still won't shut up, what are you going to do, Mike? Right there. That's when you know you're in big time trouble. And I always point this out. Mike is a Marine. You don't want to make him mad. We put him in charge of his own penalties for going over time. So I don't know what he's going to do to you. It's not going to be good. All right, so after all 7 questions have been asked, each candidate will be allowed to have a closing statement of 2 minutes. And we've got the order arranged right there for that one. And the candidates know which order they're in. They have had about 30 minutes now to kind of formulate some responses, so they got the questions ahead of time. No candidate signs. I think we all obeyed the rules there. You're not allowed to have candidate signs in here, but you are allowed to wear shirts or hats or things like that. But if you have a sign, try not to hold it up or take it out in the hallway. We appreciate that. Okay, are we ready? All right, well, first of all, thank you all for being here today. Give yourselves a big round of applause, because it's so important for our community to have people that are involved. And how about an applause for all of these candidates that went through the process. It's not an easy thing to run for office, and so I just want to thank each of you for being here today. Are you guys ready? Are we ready? All right. Last chance to back out. Okay. We're actually doing this. All right. So we're going to start with a real fireball question here. What experiences and guiding principles do you bring to the table that cause you to believe that you are a better choice in your race? So we're going to start with place 4, Kelssi Williams Frederick. 2 minutes.
So I'm a current teacher. I'm currently in the classroom every day. I think that gives me a unique perspective on what a school district needs in order to run successfully. It also gives me a really good idea of how to best support teachers and staff. I also have a son that's currently in kindergarten in the district. He's gone to Perrin Early Childhood Center for 2 years, and now he's at Story Elementary. So I'm very involved. I'm a very involved mom when it comes to things, even now in kindergarten. I would say my guiding principles, I would be guided by what's best for students. And like I said, being a current teacher, I think I have a pretty good idea of what that would be. What's supported by teachers, and as a teacher, I have a really good idea of what that is, and I would be guided by transparency with you.
All right. Anna Wylie, you have 2 minutes. Would you like me? Oh, if you like me to repeat the question, just look at me with like a terrified expression. I'll be happy to repeat the question.
My experience, I am a retired teacher, and I've taught for 27 years in public school, and then after the 27 years, I did private tutoring as well as taught homebound, and I've taught homebound since I retired for a good 10, 12 years off and on. So I have that experience. I certainly have the classroom experience, 27 years of that, and then I stayed with the education throughout. I actually am on the payroll, but have not been called this year for a homebound student. So the other thing is that I've been on the board for 6 years. So I have the board experience that, and there's been a lot of things that have happened in the past 6 years while I've been on the board. So I think that my board experience is definitely gives me an advantage in that situation. I am conservative. I am a mom of 2, and of course my kids are grown.
but please put your phones on silent or turn them off. Thank you.
Okay. Is it okay if I stay?
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, my name is Paul Manley. My qualifications, I think, for this position began with my mom, who's sitting right there. She was a public high school science teacher for 30 years, and that really began my appreciation, deep admiration, and respect for teachers in our public school system. I've worked in large organizations for about 20 years now, large manufacturing organizations, which has given me a sense of how important it is to have a strong emotional culture or organizational culture. And seeing as that Sherman ISD is Sherman's second largest employer, I think that's very relevant. My wife and I have been active members of the community for 10 years now, since as long as we've lived here, and I hope to continue doing that. My guiding principle, I have one key priority, and that's doing whatever I can to improve student performance at Sherman ISD. Our standardized test scores and therefore our school ratings are of the utmost importance, not only to our children, but to our city. I'm an engineer by trade. I'm a problem solver. That's in my nature. I want to find a problem, build a action plan to solve that problem, and then focus on results. And that's what I intend to do if elected to a member of Sherman ISD School Board. I think I have a talent for bringing a consensus among differing opinions. I've displayed that since I've been on the Sherman's Planning and Zoning Commission for the past 6 years. I listen to differing viewpoints, and I'm able to bring people together and establish a consensus, and I hope to bring that to the board as well. Most importantly, I'm a parent. I have 2 students in Sherman ISD, and this is a personal mission for me.
All right. We'll continue starting with place 4, where we're going to alternate who starts first, and then you can start first. Considering the concern for school violence and mental health challenges all schools face today, what measures do you think are necessary to enhance the safety and mental well-being of those in Sherman ISD? And why? You have 2 minutes.
Certainly, school violence is all over the place. It's not just here. Well, we have been lucky to not experience too much.
I'm sorry, we
have-
can't hear back here, even these people.
Yeah, we'll stand up there.
All right, so
Yes, that's it.
we already have in place metal detectors, so that's one thing that helps our schools. We have counselors available in all the schools, so we
teachers aren't bullying students saying, we're concerned about this person because they're mad at them. It's coming from a place of concern, and usually as a professional, and like I said, as someone currently in the classroom, if I'm bringing that to someone, there's a reason that you should be looking into that student. We need to make sure we're hiring counselors that are equipped to deal with that as well.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to alternate which place starts. We'll start with place 5. And Erin Clayton will start this one. What? Oh, no, you guys. Sorry, I skipped over it. Yeah, we're still on question. Thank you for that. All right, so it is the end. You can check. There we go. All right. I was testing. That was a test. There will be other tests.
Okay. Lots of things play into school safety, the physical structures of the building. Very proud that we passed a bond last year that included numerous safety upgrades to all facilities. I was proud to be part of that bond committee that helped pass that with a record approval rating in the state of Texas. Staff as well, Chief Wester does, I think, a fantastic job. We do have dedicated Sherman ISD police officers at the high school and at the middle schools, but we only have 2 floating officers for all of them elementary schools. So I think we should evaluate whether that is the right thing to do, and if we are able to increase our staff at the elementary schools, I think that's an area of vulnerability that we have. I think above and beyond the most important thing we can do to prevent school violence is prevention. And that comes down to mental health and how we treat our students and how they feel when they're in class. We need to create a warm, welcoming environment for every student. Bullying cannot be tolerated. We have to establish strict discipline for this type of behavior. We just can't allow a student to come to school and feel isolated, because that's where it starts. And we have to nip that in the bud wherever possible.
I believe that mental health, anger starts from fear. And we need to remember that a lot of these children, I'm trying to class, this is pretty much stand up. Anger starts from fear. So we need to start there. What creates the violence in schools that we see across the nation? A lot of times it's when kids are not being needs met. So we really need to start asking ourselves questions and asking our district questions about what needs are we not meeting for our children. Right now, we've been able to provide lunches for them. I think when they take problems to school, that helps. So we're already doing things to help mitigate violence. We do have a great job already with our safety officers. They know our students, they care about our students, they build relationships with our students, and that actually will keep our teachers and our students safer, because when a kid is in a relationship with adults, then they feel comfortable. They have someone to relate to, they have someone to talk to. And I think we need to keep encouraging that. I think we need to keep hiring quality professionals who are mental health providers. A lot of our counselors get used just for scheduling, just for a lot of our counselors don't get used to do counseling. We have one counselor for 700 kids in elementary. She can't meet with every single kid. She can't meet in that relationship with every single kid. Teachers can. CIS is a program that we put into schools. We need to keep funding CIS. It's moving into schools. It's a great program. It hires individuals who have space managers who come into the schools and provide assessments for their kids. But they also are another adult that we have a relationship with. So I believe that we just need to keep hiring quality professionals who can help deal with the root of these issues.
Okay. Actually, here, hey Daniel, do you mind? There's a couple of people that texted me trying to get in downstairs on the north entrance. So thank you. Okay. All right, now we're on to question 3, and we're going to stay with place 5. What specific steps would you take to overcome the challenges in hiring and retaining high-quality teachers?
I believe that the biggest thing to challenge in hiring is actually what kind of community are our teachers and our staff coming into work.
most important thing, I believe, to hiring and retaining teachers is culture, organizational culture within Sherman ISD. I've talked to numerous teachers that have left the district or teachers that are currently in the district. I've yet to talk to one that said that they left to make more money while still being a teacher. In fact, I know several that took a pay cut to leave. And it has to do with the culture that we've built. And I know that Dr. O'Neill and our administration I believe they're working in the right direction, but we still have a lot of work to do. Teachers need to feel heard in their classroom. They need to feel free to express new ideas. They need to feel trusted, I think most of all, to run their classrooms the way they see fit. They don't want to be micromanaged. They're intelligent professionals, and they have chosen this profession for a reason, and they're good at what they do, and we need to trust them and support them however we can. Just the culture that we build is of the utmost importance, and that's something that I have some experience with working in large organizations. I plan to bring that to bear on the school board to help build the right culture for our teachers in Sherman ISD.
Place 4, we'll start with Kelssi. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, it's the one about hiring and retaining teachers, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What specific steps would you take to overcome the challenges in hiring and retaining high-quality teachers?
Okay. So, as a teacher who left the district and took a pay cut to do so, I would say I have a pretty good idea of why teachers are leaving. It does come down to support. That's a big factor. I didn't leave because of the kids. I love the kids. I miss the kids. I desperately wanted to stay to continue teaching those same kids. I took a pay cut to go to another district to change grade levels and made some sacrifices because I wasn't supported by people that weren't in the classroom. It was administrative decisions that made things hard. We have to make sure that we are considering with every decision made at administrative levels, is this negatively or positively impacting teachers? And it's true that teachers know we're not going to become millionaires being teachers, but compensation does matter. We still have bills to pay and families to feed. And while we are the highest paid district in Grayson County, we're comparing ourselves to school districts that are much smaller than us. So realistically, we should want to make sure that we're on par with schools like Melissa Ann and McKinney. We're about to be 6A at the high school, and we're making 4 and 5A salaries. TIA is a really great step in the right direction, but it's not attainable to every teacher, even the great teachers. The way that it's set up, that's just how it is. So we need to make sure that we are considering compensation and making sure that that is priority number 1, even with the budget deficit.
In a while, 2 minutes. What specific steps will you take to overcome the challenges in hiring and retaining high-quality teachers?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say that almost everything everybody has said is just right on target. We do have a cultural problem in our schools, and we are working really hard to correct that. We have Dr. O'Neill in here now, and he is really, we are working hard. This comes up all the time. We feel like, a lot of the teachers feel like they have been micromanaged. Many teachers have left our district, and it's a sad thing. We need to get it changed, and we are working toward that end. We need to listen to our teachers. We took a survey, and we have listened. We need to turn around now and implement all of those things. It takes a long time, though. It's not going to happen overnight. So we are working in that direction already. I'm sad to say that what y'all have said is true about the micromanaging and that people leaving. I hate to see that happen. But we are doing everything we can to make that change. And the biggest thing we did was to hire Dr. O'Neill. And he knows, he's very well aware of it, and he is making steps to turn this whole thing around.
Okay, now we'll start with place 5. Paul Manley will start this question. what are your budget priorities and what specific changes to the current budget would you like to make happen?
As I said, I have one priority on school board, and that's improving student performance in our test scores. And my priorities in the budget would reflect that. I believe successful organizations, including school districts, highlight one or two key things that they focus on, and everything in that organization from top to bottom is focused on that one key thing, and that includes our budget. And so that's how my priorities would fall. I believe that the last thing we would ever want to cut or change to a budget we would make would be to reduce our number of teachers or to increase our student-to-teacher ratio. So our instruction budget allotment needs to be the top priority. And that means, unfortunately, that there are support roles within the district that need to undergo a great deal of scrutiny to determine how much they contribute to the goal, the priority of improving student performance. That has got to be the top priority. We've got to focus on what's most important. With changes in budget this year, the staff right now is working on cutting roughly $2 million from our operating budget, because last year we incurred a budget deficit, and the board has made it clear that they will not accept another deficit budget this year. That is not just trim here and there. That is a significant change to what we have, the structure of the organization and how we have to be organized. And it becomes ever more critical when resources are scarce to focus on priorities. And I believe that student performance should be that priority.
Erin Clayton.
I don't know if you all got to watch our latest school board meeting, but our CFO has done an amazing job with our budget. It is very tight. She works very closely with our principals to make sure that those budgets are as utilitarian as possible, but with maintaining quality. So if we're going to focus on the budget, I would look at smaller things such as, are there programs that I noticed throughout the different board meetings, we talk a lot about curriculum that we use, the trainings we use to do curriculums. I would want to make sure that we're being really more efficient with that. I know a lot of people want to see the leader in me come in. I know that a lot of the pushback has been budget. It's really expensive. And so I know that Sori got theirs through grants. And I think that a lot of these kind of smaller issues can be used through grants. And so if we're going to look at something in the budget from the trustee standpoint, I would look at things that we could actually do to engage community members to see, are there smaller projects that community members through grant writing could actually get, so our budget doesn't have to get slashed anymore. That's some of the things I would look for.
Place 4, we'll start with Ann and Wylie. What are your budget priorities and what specific changes to the current budget would you like to make happen?
Okay, budget priority is pay, the teacher's pay, and it does take up about 85%, I believe, of our budget, and so we focus on that a lot. We really want to pay our teachers well. We would like that to be a incentive for them to come, but we do need to change that culture to enhance that. to pay for our teachers and all employees. That'd be one thing that we would be able to use that for. That's good.
All right. Kelssi, Williams, right?
Okay, so software is a big issue. I know that there's a lot of conferences where you'll see this bright new shiny, we need that, it would help us, and then we're spending literally tens of thousands of dollars on software that doesn't get used. So that is 100% something that should be looked at. At the end of the day, everything needs to come back to ensuring student success, not just through test scores. We need to look at things like literacy ability. When I was working at the high school, the literacy rates were well below grade level at the 10th grade, on average, sometimes 5 years below grade level. In America, on average, we're like 54% of people are reading at a 6th grade level or below. And I think that we have some kids that are smart enough to beat that statistic, but you have to make sure that they are given the tools and enabled to be beating that statistic, and teachers have to be given the correct tools to make sure that they are able to teach students properly. While I was employed there, I know that there were administrative positions made at central office that totaled at least $500,000 in salaries. That's all public information. That's how I found it out. So how many of those positions were actually needed if they were just created in the last 3 years? Those are the things that we have to look at when it comes to budget. And while, again, it is great that we're highly paid in Grayson County, we have to make sure that we're prioritizing teacher pay and paraprofessional pay. Those are the people that if we don't have them, school shut down. It's not all the administrative jobs.
Okay. All right. Ready to do another one? We're going to start this one. All right. So tell us about your thoughts regarding school funding, for example, how to reduce the tax burden, the school choice bills currently being considered, and other funding issues.
So it's important, even though we have the promise of TI and Globotech, which is incredible, the opportunity that's going to bring to students is amazing. As long as we utilize the money correctly to where it is actually helping students. I think we need to fully fund our public schools, but we need to be, again, fiscally responsible with the money that we're given. If we're just throwing it to new pretty software and to administrative jobs that aren't actually helping teachers and students, then what's the point of getting all of that money? If we're graduating seniors who aren't able to read above a 6th grade level, how much are we helping our community, and how much are
discuss regarding school funding, how to reduce the tax burden, school choice, and other funding issues. We'll start with Erin Clayton.
As a part of the ambassadors, Sherman ambassadors talk clubs that the school district has put together, I've gotten to learn about how our tax relief works and how we get funded. Recently, we have become a school that we make so much money, I think we're going to pay back $1.5 million this year, because we only do get $6,100 per student who comes to school, and that's only if they come to school every single day for the entire time that we get that filled out. We actually get a percentage. The tax burden, we actually are pretty low on our taxes. I know that a couple years ago, they actually had us vote so we would lower our taxes on us. Problem was, all of our houses still all went up, and so like, I don't know about y'all, but we didn't feel that. It's still expensive. And as far as vouchers are concerned, I believe that the school district and the community need to be working together to contact our representatives and to tell them how this is going to affect us and to tell them how we want to do this. I myself used to call Shelley Luther on the regular, and I encourage all of y'all to, because she is the person who represents us. And so I think that kind of encouragement is the only way to affect anything done in the state level. Because otherwise, the school district, all of our current members can do is they have to take what TEA says that comes from the state, and then they have to implement that into the school system. So we want to make changes at that kind of level. We're going to have to work together as a school district, as a community, and talking to our representatives.
I wish this wasn't such a popular topic, but unfortunately it is. I believe that the heart of a strong community is its public school system. But unfortunately, it feels lately like our representatives in our state government and federal government don't agree with you. And that is an unfortunate fact. Sherman ISD faces many budget challenges coming up. We are now, for the first time, subject to recapture, which means our property values within the district are high enough that the state is going to take back some of those funds and supposedly redistribute it to districts that have lower taxable values. Vouchers, the legislation is still pending, and we don't really know how all that's going to flesh out. Unfortunately, our school funding is tied to it. I don't know why anything would ever be tied to the funding of our public schools. I don't understand it. And I would never support anything that pulls funds away from our public schools. I believe in it that much. I'm a product of public schools, and like I mentioned, my mom was a teacher in public schools for 30 years. And I just wish we didn't have to talk so much about budget. I think part of the argument that comes for school choice and passing of vouchers that might pull funds away from public schools is poor performance in our public schools. People want to see an improvement. They believe that if they leave the district, they've got another option they're going to take. So I think that makes it all the more important for us to do our due diligence and make sure that we are providing the best quality education that we can, the best quality education product that we can, and that our students are performing at the highest level possible, and take that argument off the table.
We'll go to place 4 again to start this one with Wylie. What are your feelings regarding the belief by many in the community that there is a, quote, woke agenda in our schools? Wylie.
Well, our president has said that there is a woke agenda in the United States of America. There's a woke agenda in the military. There's woke. It is everywhere. So it's perceived that it is everywhere. So I'm sure it's perceived in this community as well. We did have an issue that came up about a year ago, and we as a board investigated, dealt with it, and I think we dealt with it in the proper way. I think that we did a good job there. We researched it, and the best that could be done, I think, in that situation. So I think that is a perception, but I'm not sure that it is accurate for our schools.
Kelssi Williams.
Again, as a classroom teacher, teachers don't have time to bring their own agenda into the classroom. We have a pretty set standard of these are the things you have to teach. Unfortunately, I know at Sherman we weren't given curriculum either, so on top of having to make sure you're teaching all of the teaks and doing all of the things and making sure all of the students are behaving, you're also writing curriculum, which we were not paid extra to do. So if there are teachers that are bringing their own thoughts and political ideology into the classroom, I'm almost impressed that they managed to fit that in, and it probably means they're not the greatest of teachers, and they're not doing what they should be in the classroom, so it should be handled and addressed and shut down, no matter what political side it's a part of. But I think that perception isn't always reality, and most teachers are wanting to do just that. They're wanting to teach. That's why I show up every day. I care about getting the job done, and I do not care about spreading my political ideology upon children. And if you teach correctly, they become independent thinkers who are able to take that into the real world on their own. And that should be your goal as a teacher.
We'll go to place 5. What are your feelings regarding the belief by many that there's a woke agenda? Paul Manley.
I think the key word on this topic that was touched on is perception. I think that people have perceptions of many types on things that they don't understand. I think the problem is a lack of understanding and a lack of communication at times. I think that when you have people often don't feel connected to their elected officials. They maybe don't feel connected to their school board or to their city council or to their state representatives. And that leads to mistrust. And I think that that is a communication and a relationship building issue that Sherman ISD has, as well as many governments. And I intend to work to alleviate that. I would make it a priority to communicate openly and honestly with all parents and residents of the district about changes that are being made, priorities, setbacks, and successes within the district, and the reasons behind decisions that are made to the greatest extent of the law. There's always going to be things that can't be shared publicly, but I think we have a lot of improvement we can do in instilling a greater sense of trust within the public, and a greater sense of understanding. And I think a lot of those misconceptions will fade away when we do that.
Erin Clayton.
I think our students use political rhetoric a lot, so I think that concepts like woke get thrown around when our children are just trying to learn our history. So I don't believe there is a religion going through our schools. I do believe that we are trying to reflect it to the students that we have. And so if we have a 40% population that's Hispanic, then maybe we have books where the kids are Hispanic, and that's not wrong. That's just showing kids the reflections of themselves. And so I think words matter, and I think that is a good discussion that our community should have. And if that is a belief of people in our community, we need to have open discussion and discourse around that so that we can see each other and meet each other where we are. And I think that can start from our beliefs.
Okay. This next one will stay with place 5. Erin, you're up then. What are your thoughts regarding teacher evaluations, and how would you reward teachers that successfully motivate students to achieve higher test scores?
I believe that it can be disruptive to the teacher-student relationship when you base the teacher's financing on a student's achievements. We need to address our kids' education in a way that says all students need to be educated, and that's where we start. And then test scores can be something that we talk about later, but I don't know how tying the educational achievements of
place today. Many teachers I've spoken to feel that it is unattainable, that it is not an achievable goal. I believe that incentive program is a step in the right direction, but clearly it warrants some evaluation to see whether we've got the right program set up. Are the right roles participating in it? Currently, you've got support roles in the district that do not participate in it, yet they are directly involved in student instruction. So is that the right decision to make? And of course, if you want it to be a true incentive, it has to be achievable, it has to be attainable. So we have to look at the criteria by which it was pulled out. I think that about sums it up. I do support an incentive plan. I think it just matches up with how an organization achieves its goals. And I just believe that the one we have in place needs to be evaluated and tweaked to make sure that it's effective in improving student performance.
All right, we'll go to place 4. What are your thoughts regarding teacher evaluations? How would you reward teachers that successfully motivate students to achieve higher test scores? We'll start with Kelssi Williams-Frederick.
I think if we're going to judge teachers on student success, we have to make sure that we are giving teachers the tools to be successful. I personally don't think that teachers are always getting those tools. I also think that basing this all on test scores is not completely fair to students or teachers. Again, we have kids that are passing tests and reading 3 years below grade level. How successful are they going to be in the real world? Why do we have kids who don't know how to open an email, as if that's not a life lesson they need to learn and will use in their everyday life moving forward professionally or in college? I think that the other problem with using test scores is that not every teacher is teaching a subject that is tested. At the high school level, there's only a handful of teachers that are teaching a tested subject. Again, TIA isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's what the state's given us. We don't have to agree with TIA, but unfortunately, it might be the only thing we have at this moment. But we need to make sure we are considering other options, given that it's not going to be achievable for everyone, even some of the best teachers.
And Wylie.
Okay, I do believe that the incentives for being kind to the test scores would be good. I don't think it needs to be extreme. You know, we need to be cautious in that. We need to evaluate. This program has not been in place that long, and it is, again, it's what the state is giving us, it's what we have to work with. So it does need to be looked at very carefully, and it has just begun. So we need to look at it carefully and make sure that we are rewarding our teachers that are doing the best job. And there are those teachers that can bring those kids up 2 or 3 grade levels in a year, and that's phenomenal, and that should be rewarded. So I think it can be helpful, but I do think we need to be very careful how we do that. And then again, like you said, we don't give it to all. It's not available to all teachers right now. This is a tied to test scores, so there are teachers that don't teach anything that's going to be tested. So it needs to be, possibly expanded in certain ways, but right now that's what we have to work with. And so I think it can be very helpful, and it certainly should reward those teachers that do the very best in the classes.
All right. Okay, almost done. Down to the last one here. How's everybody feeling? Good? All right. We're going to start with Paul Manley, and you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Again, I've been a part of this community for 10 years. I've been an active part of this community for 10 years. And I chose to run for Sherman ISD School Board because I believe it is the next right step for me and the best place that I can put my abilities and effort towards to make our community better. That is my intention solely, is to improve our school district and therefore improve our community. I think I've shown Emergency Center Board of Directors. I'm involved with the Sherman Education Foundation. I helped pass the school bond last year that did so many great things for our district. I volunteer with DAAP students at Sherman ISD. This kind of answer is not natural for me because I don't like to brag on myself, but my wife reminded me that that's what this is for, so I can do the best I can. But, genuinely, I just want to make our community better and want to make our schools better, and I believe I have skills that can be brought to bear to help the school district, and this is what I'm dedicated to, and it's my passion right now. So I appreciate your support. I appreciate you coming out here tonight. I hope you'll consider me when you vote on May 3rd, and early voting starts April 22nd. It's coming around this round of time.
Erin Clayton.
Hi, sir. I'm a terrible public speaker, but I'm an amazing volunteer, and I'm dedicated to the students and the teachers and the staff of Sherman ISD. I decided to put myself out there and run because I truly do believe that I can make a positive impact on our district. And if you vote for me, you'll give me a chance to show that and do that. One of the things that I really want to point out is that I, if I'm elected, plan on making a communication with voters on a basis, because I think that's one of the things that these are lacking right now. I've been volunteer. I've lived in this position for 20 years. I've been volunteer at multiple schools for the last 10 years. At my children's schools and at other schools across the district. And I believe that I've had a positive impact being a volunteer, and want to take the next step and have an even greater impact by being with the students.
All right, we go to place 4 for closing statements. We'll start with Anna Wylie.
I am a retired teacher, so with that, I have quite a bit of experience in teaching in public schools. So that qualifies there. Of course, I've been on the board for 6 years, so I have that experience. The other thing is I am involved in the community in terms of part of our organization called Takes On the Patriots. I'm part of the Grayson County Republican Women, part of those kinds of groups that are in touch with our legislatures. And so I have a very good feel for what our legislatures are doing and what's happening in Austin. So I think with that as well, all those things that affect schools that I'm very informed about. So I appreciate you all coming out tonight. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Kelssi Williams, Frederick. Last word.
Thank you. So I'm a current classroom teacher, like I've said a million times. Education's changed a lot since the COVID era. So while I have 5 years experience, I don't have decades of experience, but I have current experience, and our students have changed a lot and our schools have changed a lot. So I think there is something to be said for that. While I don't have board experience either, I would be a fresh outlook, I don't think outlook's the right word, but I would be a fresh voice to the board. And I think it's important for voters to decide if we're happy with the way our district has been run in the last few years, and if we're not, then maybe we do need a fresh take on things. I don't have a lot of people that I just know. I'm not a part of a lot of organizations. If you have students at Sherman High School that are seniors or juniors, they might have had me as a teacher, and you can ask them about me. I'm just a normal mom. I'm a normal teacher who wants to see the success of our district as we grow. I'd like the opportunity to make sure that our schools are performing as best they can, and that we have happy teachers and happy students that are reading at grade level. And I want my son to be able to continue in Sherman ISD schools. I don't want to be worried when he gets older that he's receiving the best education. And so I'd like the opportunity to get to help our culture and make sure that I think that I have a unique perspective because I was just there as a teacher. So I think I know how best to improve our culture. Probably. Thank you.
All right. All right, let's have a round of applause. Again, big thanks to the Conservative Citizens Club for putting this on. A lot of work to put these together, everybody. So be sure to say hi to Bob, Madeline, and Daniel. And if you're interested in that club, they probably answered a few questions about that too. So thanks for being here, everybody.